And my pal Stu is here in the studio. Greetings, sir.
Greetings. Thanks for having me in.
Please.
Is this thing on?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Ish. And Jay is here. Jay from Rival
Jay
Sons.
Buchanan is in the room.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. So you're doing a bunch of press. Is anything interesting happening in your Rival Sons universe?
I am right now. There is a lot, since you bring it up.
Hey, what's new?
We're here in town right now, and
Why?
we've got 2 nominations at the Grammys this year, and that's going to be taking place.
About
Thank
time.
you very much.
It's
Yeah.
about time.
Being on the outside, the band this is our 7th record, and for us to get the recognition and get nominated for two different categories is wild, because we aren't really adept to how that whole thing works, like that inner circle of the Recording Academy. We've always been on the outskirts, just living and working in the trenches and everything. So to be recognized by a jury of a panel of your peers,
Supposedly.
supposedly,
Right.
but I mean, from what I see, because I vote too, and I see it,
Yeah.
and getting to know more and more people, it's actually vote driven. So
Where were you when you found out? Sorry, that you were actually.
I was in Aarhus, Denmark.
Whoa.
Sure.
Yeah, we were in Aarhus, Denmark, and we.
Is that Danish for our house? Sorry.
That's madness.
So we were just pulling into Aarhus, Denmark. I had woken up late, coming downstairs on the bus. We're approaching our hotel, so the bus is going real slow. And I just go down there first thing and pour a cup of coffee, and I'm just trying to get my wits about me. Thinking, all right, all I'm thinking about is the day off. All right, I want to go running. I want to run over to this library, the different things that I like in Aarhus. And all of a sudden, everybody that's down there starts going crazy. They say, oh my God, we're nominated. We're nominated. And I'm looking at that and just thinking, what? Oh, and just trying to let that sink in. And within 2 minutes, we're nominated again.
Boom, 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 boom. Wow.
And so my phone starts blowing up,
bet.
calls from my manager, my A&R,
People you haven't heard from in years.
producer. Yeah, that came later in the day. But
For those of you that don't know, Rival Sons is up for, and those 2 noms are Best Rock Album, Feral Roots, and Best Rock Performance for the song "Too Bad" that we just played.
Yep.
Now, you guys have a whole lot of songs about making it and reaching for the brass ring. I'm thinking like "Burn Down Los Angeles," "Get Mine,"
We need
"Keep
to
on
play
Swinging."
that, by the way. Are you down with playing Burn Down Los Angeles at some
well,
point?
now that the fires have gone down,
It's
Right.
not
Yeah,
inappropriate
yeah.
to do that.
when I had written that song, when I had written that one, before I brought it to the band and it became, a band tune and everything, I was out in Oxford, Mississippi, and I had the idea that, because I grew up on the foot of the Mojave Desert in Wrightwood, not too far from here, and we would have fires all the time. We would get evacuated in the summertime and have, the red skies, super pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And it always seemed like there were fires going on, and so I thought, Los Angeles is always trying to burn down, and that whole thing of having some sort of, as a musician moving into LA County, albeit I'm, Long Beach, but still,
Sure.
LA always seemed like the place that you have a love-hate relationship with. Like
very
you
true.
need to be here, but also
405.
but I could also just burn this place down. But anyway, so writing that one just with that kind of adversarial but still necessary relationship,
Yeah. Well, this must, how does it actually feel once that it's kind of sunk in? Like, you must feel like this is the fulfillment of, like, a life goal. And that's probably an understatement, I guess.
You know what? It depends. I think that you get trained up in this business, on this side of the curtain especially. I think that the hope gets beat out of you real early, and in terms of not getting too excited about a bird in the bush. And once it's in the hand, well, then it's yours, and sometimes it gets snatched back away.
Jay, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying Jay Buchanan from Rival Sons has joined us here on KLOS.
Yeah.
And,
if your Milli Vanilli gets snatched back away, I don't know what else you can be referring to.
And so, anyways, it's a big deal, to get that.
Yeah.
To get those accolades and everything, and it's been a reconciliation with like this is real, but is it like a culmination of dreams? And do I feel like I can rest, or does the band feel that way? I still wouldn't say that, because I feel like the hard work just started on another level. It's always been hard work, and my respect goes out to anyone that is in the game. And it doesn't matter if you're playing music that I think is terrible, or if you're unfortunately playing music that you think is terrible, because you see it. But anyways, whether it's en vogue or not en vogue, or stylistically, you got to have a lot of respect for the people that get in there and get the crap beat out of them by staying in the ring. And so just knowing we're just going to have to keep fighting, no matter if we walk away with a statue or not.
Well, the nomination seems like it's really overdue. And I think literally, they could have pulled any song from Feral Roots that could have been the rock performance of the year. Do you have an idea why they went with Too Bad?
I think that the Too Bad specifically, number one, it's a kiss-off song. And those always do well, I think,
It's always,
And it's a combo between that slow loping groove, and then Scott's riff that he put on there. Yeah. That guitar riff is relentless.
Another one that I would think would be a contender is Shooting Stars, which
we're going to play here. In just
we're going to play that in a second. Talk about that one.
Yeah.
Oh, Shooting Stars is one of those songs. As soon as I had written the lyrics and everything, and getting it together. It took a while for the band to really sink their teeth into it, because the identity of that song really, it took a lot of courage, I think, for the band to look at it and get behind it, because it doesn't necessarily fit stylistically with everything that we've done. It's a new branch and a little bit of a new direction, while maintaining our regular old style that we do. I think that it was a little bit of a departure.
For sure.
And which we love departures. There's one thing we love to do that on every record, is to split off into different ends and take different routes away from ourselves. And I think that that song, Shooting Stars in particular, was one that ended up flourishing and becoming something very, very special and even sacred to us as time went on.
Do you park those other ideas, the weird sort of one-offs, if they don't seem to fly in the studio, and maybe come back and revisit them later? Or
absolutely, yeah. we are. I mean, everyone has a different take on it.
Yeah.
Like my partner Scott, the way that he would answer that question might be a little bit different from me, and he's a rock and roll dude to the bone, to the bone, and that I need that, and the band does. And for me, I come from a little bit more of a singer-songwriter angle, and so I'm always thinking song and message, and that song of Shooting Stars was definitely one where the message, as soon as it was written, was like, look, we have to figure out, this has to happen, because it makes you feel good when you play it.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's get some goosebumps.
I got to play some exciting commercial messages after that, but also I want to ask about Miss Gypsy. Is she not here with you, the new dog? What is that, the band dog?
Is there a band dog? What's going on?
Gypsy Jiva.
Yeah,
that's
so
Scott's.
Cute.
That is Scott's new dog.
Nice.
And she's still kind of young, so I don't know how happy he would be by me running down there and kidnapping her.
I am Sluggo in for Marcy, who is going to kick herself. I don't know if she's knew.
Bummed.
Yeah.
I got a text message last night around 10, like you did. Yeah. Marcy's sick. Can you come in and interview Jay Buchanan?
Rival Son, such a fan she is of yours. She's going to be so... Thank you for coming in today.
Well, please give her my best and thank her for staying away if she's ill.
Exactly. You know what? More people need to do that, because we're dropping like flies in this place.
Yeah,
Frank is out from the morning show. Which,
really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know. That's a secret.
I'm
Never
quarantined off in my little production studio, and I'm happy with that.
So what do you do when you get sick? I mean, if you're out on the road and like, how do you?
Dude, I'm sick. I'm sick right now.
Show goes
I just spent a week down in Todos Santos doing the headline in the Tropic of Cancer concert series down there. And so I went down there with my wife. It's a solo side project. So we were down there on the beaches for a whole week, and I didn't get Montezuma's Revenge until that last day when I was leaving.
That always happens, doesn't it? It's the last day before you get on the jet.
Man, I feel like a piece of trash in the wind right now.
But you know what? I just have to jump in here since you're talking about the touring. My God, congratulations going out with Aerosmith.
Yeah, the whole band is happy about that. We toured with them quite a few times before. We're very fortunate to say that we've had the good fortune to tour with everybody. And everyone has been so gracious to take us under their wing and help collectively to give us that education to sink our teeth into what the arena band is supposed to be doing.
Jay, maybe I've got this wrong, but I feel like it was that Black Sabbath tour that was kind of a game changer for you guys. And am I right in that? I mean, because you were already opening for like AC/DC, Alice Cooper, and Deep Purple. Did the Sabbath thing change something?
Yes, you do feel right to answer that. No, there is no doubt in my mind when we were handpicked to headline, or to be the sole opener for Black Sabbath for over a year worldwide. It's basically them looking at us. We're more of a theater band than a club band these days, and or we were then. And so they looked at us and they said, like, hey, we'll give you the opportunity. We will give you our arena stage, 60, 30, 100,000 people every night. Go learn how to do it. This is how it's done. From the way that they handled everything backstage, the choreography of everything, and it takes so much to get a show going, of that caliber. And they gave us that leg up, and they gave us that opportunity and allowed us that education that you can't go to any school for.
And you had to rise to the occasion, I'll bet, pretty quickly, or you might not have
immediately,
lasted, right?
Immediately. And I feel that where the band was at that time, it wasn't so much we really didn't feel the need to rise to the occasion because we were already very, very strong, and we had already opened for so many people in arenas. It was just different. It was actually going to, school, like getting your doctorate on what that is. Doing it every day with the same people was really wild.
Was it a test for the band as far as like the interpersonal relationships? Had you guys been around each other that intensely for that long period of time?
Yeah, that was a cakewalk compared to everything we've had to go through. Sweating it out in a van for years. Yeah. And, just doing all of that stuff and not having money to eat, living off
that's the test.
Fast food, or
and still getting along,
and still getting along, and dealing with hangovers every day, like just all of that stuff that you have to. That's just intrinsic to your early slug it out years. You know?
You are definitely hitting people. I just got this text here. Someone sent us. The first time I heard Shooting Stars on KLOS, of course, I didn't catch the intro, so I just blasted it out of my car speakers right into my soul and penetrated more deeply with every vessel. I thought, damn, I wish I wrote that. Thank you, Rival Sons, for bringing back kick-ass rock. And that's
Bob
from
Dylan.
Duran's. Yeah.
Bob Dylan, it was so nice of you to say that,
Thanks,
Bob
Bob.
Dylan.
Thanks,
Bob. I didn't know that he would know.
Yeah.
What was the name again?
They're calling themselves the Durans.
The Durans.
Text.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Do we have another song ready to go?
Yeah,
I want to hear
we were just talking about Burn Down Los Angeles. Let's throw this on now.
Do it.
All right. 95.5 KLOS, Southern California's rock station. Please tell Jay how amazing it is to hear him on LA radio. Local fans here sending our love to Jay and our sons. So excited about the well-deserved Grammy nods. That is Mo and Jessica. Thanks for texting in.
All right, Mo and Jessica, thank you so much.
What homegrown music do you like? Other bands, LA bands, over time, or anyone new that you're loving?
Oh, local bands?
Yeah.
Well, There's a
SoCal band.
Yeah, there's a 3-piece out of the Mojave Desert, like Wrightwood area, and they're called Delta Shade. Love them. Really, really good. It's kind of like desert music, but it's a little bit. It's different from like the desert music that like Josh and the Queens and those guys are doing from out in like the Joshua Tree area,
right?
You know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, Delta Shade. From out here, oh goodness, I'm drawing a blank. But and
from anywhere,
and I'm gonna get I'm gonna get texts from my friends.
What
is wrong with you?
After all I've done for you,
I've supported you all these years. But
yeah, it just goes right out 1 year. I know. How
there are plenty. I think.
I'm sorry. What were you telling us about trying to help get these the rock back in people's faces a little bit to some degree?
Getting it back into their faces is one thing, but what I look at, I think, getting the education of being nominated and rubbing shoulders, meeting all of the people that work within that structure, I see such an underrepresentation of rock music,
right.
and of good rock music, and I just think that there's a lot that can be done about it. I think that we live in a very interesting renaissance right now where there are more genres of music than ever before that are coming out, and there's more music being put out every week than there are minutes in that week to listen to. And so it's a completely different thing. There are more artists, more songwriters putting out more music every day than ever before in the history of the world. So we live in a very interesting renaissance that way. And because of that, you're seeing a great diversification. And I love it because, you can look out this way over all of these homes, and each one of those people has a different story that's in these homes, or any people that are listening to us right now. Now, when they can hear themselves in a certain song and it's really speaking to them, it helps them feel less alone and helps them feel that they can be more of themselves every day. And that's why celebrating this diversity musically and everything is very, very important. And you look at rock and roll, and it's been squeezed into a narrow margin, but that's in order to make room for all of these other things. And you look at like what hip-hop's doing. Hip-hop is innovative. It's innovative, and it's constantly splintering up, and you see hip hop, and then you see straight up pop music, and that's a different story. Yeah. But like hip hop has grown so big and taken over so much, and it's cast such a tall shadow, but it's because people are really being inventive, and they're pushing the envelope.
To get rock off the back foot, partially it just means like, it's got to be heard, it's got to be played, because for a long time I think there are times when rock got a little lazy, maybe.
Yes.
Right. And
yes.
I think that getting squeezed out for a little while maybe in the end does it some good.
Yeah. That's certainly possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You get this new sound that you're bringing to the table is a result of that.
Well, I think that we try to approach it honestly, and that's not just some gag that I'm telling you guys,
right.
Or a soundbite. Like I'm in the studio with the band every day. I'm on the road with the band every day. It's kill or be killed, and I know that we're doing it that way, and I know that it's actually is dangerous. It's do or die, and I see other bands out there doing that, and that's what I want to see more of. Like out here in LA, like Starcrawler is working their buns off, and just really getting it done. And there are a lot of bands. There are a lot of bands out there doing the same thing.
Jonesy's had Starcrawler on a couple of times, and they're a lot of fun. If you're not familiar with the band Starcrawler, for God's sakes, Google them, check them out on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
They're so much fun.
Another thing, last time you guys were on Jonesy's Jukebox, here's a segue. I remember that you had mentioned Van Morrison as a huge, like, kind of primary influence on you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I went and got down with Astral Weeks for a long time, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is good. What is it about that guy for you? How does he come out? And
That is a very interesting question. Go ahead and lay down on the desk there for a while, and I'll explain the whole thing.
And Stu makes himself comfortable.
I can tell you, Van Morrison was just one of those artists that I feel, as a vocalist, as a self-expressionist, he had his rock and roll thing going on with them, and you could hear that he was going for something else, and Them was a great band, but he split off and left all of that behind to forge a new kind of blue-eyed soul, a new kind of music, like a different soul genre. And his, like, the folk songwriting meeting the soul, and vocally with what he was capable of. Like, I know we celebrate so many of these great blue-eyed soul rock singers.
of which you are one. And I don't hear that term come up in regards to you, but it is true, isn't it?
I feel it may be an antiquated term, and I'm making music now, so it's tough to lump myself in with any of those greats, But when I look at that, and I just feel like Van Morrison vocally could have crushed most of these people that are considered great. He could have crushed these people with one hand. With the creativity and the angle that he was coming at it with, but Van Morrison, the way that his heart was directly connected to his mouth and his delivery, that's admirable. You get that only with certain artists, Joni Mitchell, and there are so many others. So I'm sorry if I leave anyone out, but
that's okay.
Yeah.
Is there if you had to tell somebody this is the Van Morrison album that you have to, start with, what is that?
Well, Astral Weeks, V Dawn Fleece, Moon Dance. Pick
one.
His Street and Choir. Like, I don't know. Just go by a best of.
Yeah.
Nice. 95.5 KLOS. We've got Jay here in the studio with us from Rival Sons. I think we're going to throw on the title track, Feral Roots, now. And you stick around for a few more minutes?
Yes, I can. This is one of my favorite tracks on the record,
Awesome.
for sure.
Congratulations to the Grammy for recognizing something like that.
Jeez.
95.5 KLOS, Southern California's rock station. Title track there from the Feral Roots album. So tell us about that. We got Jay from the Rival Sons here in the studio with us. You were telling us a little bit about that song while we were listening.
Recording
it.
The Feral Roots track, that was one of my favorite collaborations, and Scott, my partner, our guitar player, he and I had to collaborate back and forth. He's out in Huntington, I'm out in Nashville, Tennessee, so he's here in California, Surf City, doing his thing, and so we would send each other ideas, and I had this idea and the lyrics and all that stuff, and I was like, man, it needs this thing, just do some Fuzzlord stuff. And I send it over to him, and he sends back that beautiful chorus line and that pre-chorus, the guitars that are just beautiful pieces. And I consider that one of mine and Scott's finest collaborations. We got into the studio, recorded it live very quickly down in Muscle Shoals over on Jackson Highway, and it was one of those, like, we got it just in a couple of takes, and I sang and played guitar, and it was really great because I was able to play my old Guild acoustic guitar that I've had since I was a young teenager, like my first real guitar, but it's aged now, and it was great to have a return to form for me and play my trusty old instrument.
Hang on to those guitars, your first ones.
And is that how, you probably had a few different ideas for, like, what are we going to call this record? And is that, like, you settled obviously on that name and that song?
Yeah, Scott and I talked about it. We a lot of the time we like to just, name name the album according to one of the tracks on the record that's going to be self-explanatory instead of like naming it as a collection, which can be pretty heady and everything. And I know a lot of people do that, and everybody's got their own way of going about it. But I felt that, and so did Scott. We felt that the Feral Roots really encompassed the narrative and the ethos of the collection as a whole, and that's kind of what you got to look at.
Does it describe you guys too?
It definitely describes me, because I grew up the lyrics and that term Feral Roots. It all came from, I'm not too far from here, and you can almost see it out the window on the backside of Mount Baldy. I grew up in a little mountain town called Wrightwood here in California, and that's
Mountain High.
Mountain High, that's my hometown.
Yeah.
And I spent a good amount of my formative years growing up in a house that was almost 2 miles back on a dirt road. And me and all of my friends, we always had copious amounts of silence. And,
Wow.
nobody had...
We don't know what that is.
Well, none of us really had any bread, and so we would spend our time just hiking and walking the streets of this sleepy little mountain town, a very beautiful mountain town. But, coming from a small town like that, especially Wrightwood, it's a certain breed, and it never leaves you, and it's definitely a family up there. So
some of that silence, then, it's so nice to kick out with the loud rock that you do now, right?
Well, you know what? I feel like that silence doesn't leave you even when you leave.
Right.
When you leave your hometown. Of course, I had to split from there. I'm not.
Sure.
I can't make a musical career playing for nobody.
Yeah.
Up there. So when I left and moved down to Long Beach, California here, and living in the city and all of that, you never get used to it. And then traveling the entire world for years and years and years, it comes to where like almost no place feels like home, because you've been infected with that, FedEx package,
that circus
lifestyle where you're always in transit. And so we left California. It was just getting a little bit too intense, and I had so much work in Nashville. So we get out there, and I finally I was able to find a home out in the country that's out in the woods. We get deer, and there's like wild animals and snakes and all that out there, and that return to form that way that I had been waiting for, I think definitely informed me artistically to write about these things.
You just name checked 2 of your own songs in that.
So it's like to get that return to form and to get back to that feral nature that was alive in me the entire time. I just needed a field to go back to and let it out of the cage,
Did that silence, when it first really descended on you out there, kind of feel like you're just surprised to sense it again?
You know what? I think that it's something that lives with you every day.
Yeah,
in the same way, like you have a feral part that's inside of you, much like, your dog that's sitting at home that waits for you, looking out the window, and then... but that's looking out the window, and that's a very calm, very good animal. But then all of a sudden it sees a bird real close to the window, and then all of a sudden that dog gets that crazy look in their eye, like ooh. And then that's just like the feral nature, that part of it that hasn't been domesticated.
Right.
And I think that as you move through your life and everything, especially in America, there's a certain rugged individualism that is still dyed into the wool. It's part of our national fabric, just as much as rock and roll is part of the national fabric in our very flag.
Right.
People associate, when they look at that flag, they hear rock and roll. I know they do. It's a uniquely American invention, an art form.
I don't hear hip hop.
Well, we hope to hear your names called at the Grammys on Sunday.
For
we are
sure.
so rooting for you guys, man.
Oh, thanks so much. It's a real pleasure. I have to tell you this. Look, here comes another monologue. 95.5 KLOS.
Hey.
Every time I come in here, I have to tell you what a big deal it is to know that you guys have our support.
Hell yeah.
And that you're supporting us. This was the station that I listened to growing up.
That's awesome.
When I used to have to work, hard labor jobs, whether it was construction or whatever. I listened to this in the morning, getting there, and just waiting for my time to come. Like, when is it going to come? But just still feeling like the ship's going to come in at some point. And this being KLOS, from all of the DJs and all of the different programming and the personnel that have come and gone and everything, that's all part of my DNA. And so every time I come back here and I sit with you guys and I hear our songs played on your station right here, it's a big deal.
Well, it's your station too.
Yes,
man.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime.
Wow.
Jay,
All right,
thank
great.
you. Thanks so much from Rival Sons. 95.5 KLOS.